My name's Roger Ford. I'm part of the Pike County's Against Government Waste. And we've seen what everybody else has seen in Pike County, which is, at least that is a Suddenlink customer, the problems with internet service and with our television cable service. And this seems to have been a systemic problem for a period of time. And I thought it was good, Jimmy Absher, I see you over there now. I sent you a text. Where are you? I see you in the corner. I thought you was on TV. I thought it would be good if we had, I know the city had a meeting last week or Monday and discussed this similar problem that we have here in the city. I'm a resident of the city. And I'm a businessman. My wife and I both own and work for ourselves and own businesses that we operate. And that means we work from home a lot. We both have offices here in Pikeville just down the street here, but a lot of times paperwork and stuff can't get done through the day, right? Especially if you're dealing with the public or dealing with people in other cities. And it's about like clockwork. I was telling Vince earlier, about 9 or 10 o'clock, our internet service goes out. And that's an everyday thing, most days. And it'll stay off and it bounces off and on, and you all know what I'm talking about, right? And that gets a little bit frustrating. So as we're trying to pull ourselves out of this economic hole that we're in this part of the country, one of the things that corporations, that businesses require is reliable, fast internet service, broadband, whatever you want to call it. We don't have that. So in order to be able to recruit business, and I'm saying this as a business person, we have to have reliable internet, whether it's the city of Pikeville or at Phelps or Belfry or Elkhorn City, wherever it is that Suddenlink is the service provider. We have to have reliable service throughout this county if we hope to attract any industry in here to create jobs. And this is a fact of modern business. You have to have that, just like you have to have water, sewer, and power. And it has to be reliable. And so I appreciate the ones that are here tonight, and I know there's many that couldn't be here. But I want each of us that feels comfortable telling their story. I'm just telling you my story, and I think my story relates to a lot of other people's stories, is we are paying a lot of money, and we're getting terrible service. And something has to be done. And I've looked at the customer service agreement, and I know the judge, I think, will be here in a few minutes, and he's looked at it, and you're signing your rights away when you sign that, but that's just it. It's binding arbitration. There's no really legal recourse for us as a customer, but they have a franchise agreement with the county, and I think that's what we need to look to, is what can be done with our local government to rectify the problems that we're having. So with that, Vince, I'll just kind of open it up to the public, people that want to come up and comment, and then we can kind of have that discussion going forward about what next steps we take as a group.
Back on after if we could, before we get started, I know Suddenlink Altice is actively doing some work in the area. Erin is up to date on that. If she would come up and
Okay.
maybe address that.
Okay.
Give her fair shot before we.
Thank you for that. I'm Erin Jones. I'm the Director of Government and Public Affairs for Altice USA, which is Suddenlink. And just for some background and history, aside from I've been on for 2 years covering this area, so I know a lot of it goes way beyond me. So I'm playing catch up as we go too, and learning a lot about the system and what we can do here to improve the services. But I know there's a lot of miscommunication with some of these things, but Altice bought Cablevision and Suddenlink in 2015, 2016. So everything's pretty much been kind of run the same as it has been previously. We haven't had a change of name. We haven't had all this rebranding yet. But that's one good thing with that is it's a much larger company, so we can take a look at some of these things and see where we need to identify these issues and go through them to invest in the infrastructure or make changes. So I think, so Pike County itself, I know we did this last week here in Pikeville with the city, but the Pike County system is a little different. You have two separate systems here, two separate franchises. And just to state with that, those are non-exclusive franchises, so it doesn't prohibit anyone else from coming into town. But we've got two of them, so we have one that's kind of the unincorporated Pike County, and then a separate Pike County one. So I guess it would be this more southern part would tie in to our head end in Kermit, and then the rest of the county would tie in through the Pikeville system. So we have 51 nodes that tie in through all of Pike County. That would be from one of those head ends comes fiber to the node, and then it's coax down to the pedestals into the home. So in the Pikeville system, just in the last year, we increased broadband speeds. I think you were all at 30 was your max before. That's been increased to 150. We did that by getting rid of those old analog channels, placing everything on digital so you get extra bandwidth so you can get those speeds that are capable through that system. The other half is through the Kermit, which has a gig through that system, which is significantly different. So it's kind of two separate things, but you're all kind of together in this. So I think we have probably around 3,000, 3,900 customers throughout the county for our video services. So we recently had a few things happening that caused headaches both for us and for you all. So in September, the company finally took the two separate companies that were on two completely different billing systems and merged them into one. So during that time, there were no new installs. If there were problems, we could send someone out. You couldn't access your bill for a week. And we did this over Labor Day to try to make it a little easier. But during that week, you couldn't go online and pay your bill, but we waived late fees both before and after this time period. But we ran through a couple of issues that could not be prevented just when things went over. I think maybe the age of some accounts made a difference of how they shifted, but some modems weren't transferring over to the new system. So we had to send someone out who had to call in and physically tie that modem basically back to your account. And at that same time, of course, call volume shot up very significantly to the point where the phones went down because so many people were trying to call in. But luckily, after September, we went up through October, and now in January, well, it's not January, in January, we had the numbers. It went back to where it was previously. I think the only difference is when you call into the frustration or what might take longer is that you can't just press 0 and talk to a person. They take you through the prompts, and that's because if you're calling in for, say, like a commercial business or residential, or if you're having a fiber issue or phones, or sometimes when they try to troubleshoot with you, it tries to get you to the right place. So then it's also trying to get your account pulled up by the right person who can help you. So it is important to call when you need to and just try to get through that. The time period for the answer time has gone back to where it was before. So as I said, it shouldn't be a big problem where we are right now. But if you're having some particular issue that a lot of people are having, maybe when it's getting routed, that part's taking a little bit longer. And in this area, we also had a fiber outage February 1st. And I think that one was 2.5 hours before we get automatic notifications as soon as that happens and immediately have a 24-hour response team to get out and fix the fiber. And then I think it was either that one or the one on February 4th that was during the Kentucky game. And I said, that's the most unfortunate timing I think we ever could have had. And that was just a piece of equipment that failed back at the head end. That's not an ongoing thing. That's something where that just needed replaced. The lifespan of the equipment should be very significant. And then we all know we had this terrible weather I think it was February 12th, and there was a rock slide that caused an outage. And they have to give us the all clear to make sure it's safe, and the electric companies usually, before we can send our guys in, just to keep everyone else safe. So this whole process, I'm trying to remember if I met in October or November, but I came down in November and we started working through some of these issues. And the county determined the best way to handle. They were getting complaints sent over to them, and they were compiling your information. So if you sent it along to them and they asked you, what is your 911 address, and I need more information, that was to provide it to me. And we escalated that up through our corporate escalations team. And usually these are our people that handle the top level complaints. They reach out to the customer usually within 24 hours, and they can either work through a billing issue, or they can get field services out to replace something, or schedule a service visit out to your home. So that is how those were handled. And I think that approach actually was really beneficial. I went through every single one of them last night, and I think we had over 105 that Vince routed just through me that we sent up. I think we had almost all of those either came to a resolution, and if they did not, it was because we couldn't make contact with the customer. And I can touch on that in a little bit as well. But after we started our escalation process in November and December, it really caught on that, hey, something's happening down here in Pikeville, something's happening in Pike County. So they started seeing the areas that had the highest number of complaints, so they can see the node, and then it's like a tree branch that goes off from there and spreads to, the different houses, and then that will tie into the next one. So they could pinpoint which ones were having the highest call volume and were having the most repeat service visits.
Excuse me, ma'am.
Yeah.
We've never met before. My name's Ray Jones, and I'm the county judge here, and I'm also an attorney that's been practicing here for 26 years. And I'm just going to cut right to the chase. These people are not getting the service. And I don't want to hear any excuses, because you met with Mr. Ratliff and Judge Hickman a couple months ago, and because of your inaction, your company's inaction, we've been forced to hire an attorney that handles FCC regulatory matters, Ms. Linda Aing. Because of your company's actions, now the county that's looking at $1.5 million deficits had to go out here and hire outside counsel. And you see this gentleman here on the scooter, that's a real close friend of mine. Your company charged him for, was it almost $200, Bob, for a connection fee? How much, Bob? Did they ever come and hook it up? But you were getting. Well, really, Ms. Jones, what your company's doing, from the information I had, raises some issues about whether your company's violating Kentucky's Consumer Protection Act. You're clearly in violation of the contract you have with many of these subscribers. Your company doesn't have adequate personnel on the ground. There's some other issues that have come to our attention that raise some very serious questions that we're going to be investigating, and we're going to forward it potentially to the appropriate law enforcement agencies to look into. But the reason, this is not a fiscal court meeting, just so the members of the press will know. We have a meeting scheduled with you, I believe, in 2 weeks. This was scheduled because there's some people in the community that are upset about it. It may be a little premature because we've not had an opportunity to sit down with you, but I was hopeful that after the first meeting, that these issues will be addressed, but obviously they're not. I've had conversations with the mayor in Prestonsburg. I've had conversations with the mayor in Pikeville. And just so you're going to understand this, I'm not going to sit here all afternoon. There's no point. Everybody here is here because of bad customer service, inadequate service. I've seen people posting on Facebook that, they're paying bills and they can't get television service. Either your company is going to do one of two things. They're going to fix this immediately, or we're going to find every way, we're going to look for a way to sue your company. And when we sue you, it's going to be for breach of Kentucky's Consumer Protection Act, potentially issues involving material misrepresentations. We're not going to tolerate this. And I know you're the messenger. And I've never been one that believes in holding the messenger responsible, but you need to carry this message back. These people have taken time out of their day to come over here because your company, with all the problems that this county has financially, with all the problems that this fiscal court has inherited, for us to have to take valuable time and resources to make your company do what it is contractually and legally obligated to do is not acceptable. And we're not going to do it. I mean, I've practiced law here for a long time. And, there's one surefire way to get your company's attention. If this fiscal court decides to file suit, we're also going to contact the Kentucky Attorney General's office this week. And we're some information we're going to pass on to them. One way or the other, we're going to get your management's attention. We can either do it in a very, cordial manner. We can try to work together with you to address these issues, but this is going to end. I mean, one way or the other, whether it's your company's going to be out of this area or whether there's a massive lawsuit filed against your company, you're not going to be able to charge people like Bobby. Now, if you want to look at a Pike Circuit Court jury or a jury appeared in U.S. District Court and explain to them how you could do Bob the way your company's done him, we'll be happy to give you that opportunity to do that. But how many of the people here have had trouble with their Suddenlink TV service and internet? I mean, and I know a lot of these folks out here, and I know what kind of people they are. I mean, you've got business people, you've got ministers, you've got retired educators, you got people from about every walk of life here, and they're just tired of it. So I don't really want an explanation. I just want you to know where we are. And we're going to meet with you on the 11th. We'll have some other discussions, and Miss Aim will be in touch with you. But I promise you this is not going to be tolerated. That's just, there's nothing else to say. Whatever you want to say to these folks, you can. But you see these TV cameras, whatever promises you say tonight, you might see them again in a different format, okay?
Sure.
So if you all have questions for her, there she is.
I can assure you the management and the executive level has definitely paid attention. So between Vince and I, we've sent up over 100 complaints. Most of them were in November and December. They caught on to that. We're very aware, flew some people down here to walk out the system, take a look. And they understood, yes, you have to put money in, you have to invest in the infrastructure. So they began those projects. So we have been investing, we have been replacing the nodes, replacing the amplifiers, going through. And since last week, I got more information. Starting this week, they are going to be replacing some equipment within the amplifiers. I think it's 384 of them, which is going to help get the signal more reliable. So if you do have any of those weather fluctuations, this is what prevents that from the signal from kind of going off when that happens. So it should streamline it, make it more reliable. That's one of those biggest issues because a lot of your complaints are about intermittent service issues. So that's the most frustrating thing where it's not off and it's not on, but we're going to try to address that. Yes?
You keep referencing you're doing all this equipment. When did that start? I want a date. So when did you start doing it?
So in November and December is when they took a hard look.
19?
Yes.
Man, this problem's been going on for 10 years. And these complaints have been going on for 10 years. Bobby's just one example of somebody that has a lot of health problems. Telehealth is a big thing now. These people depend on having access to monitoring equipment that goes through the internet. You're putting these people's health at risk. Okay? And not just Bobby. I'm talking about thousands of people in this county. That burns me up. So if you just started in November or December of 2019.
And that's only of my recent history, yeah.
Okay, this has been going on for better than a decade. You all are aware of this for better than a decade. So running out here 2 months and think it's going to be right, this has been coming for a while.
Right.
Yeah, Roger, it goes further than this. You've got kids. Do you have kids, ma'am?
Yes, sir, I do.
Right. You know, a lot of kids now have to use the internet for homework. You've got kids that can't do their homework. You have people in this community. We have put taxpayer resources into a company called Teleworks. We've got a lot of people who are doing distance earning, working from home now. I had a lady call me this week who works for a Fortune 500 company. Her internet is her livelihood. Now, your company is jeopardizing people's livelihoods, their education, and it's simple as this. If you guys don't want to do this service in a rural area, I know you probably own services in metropolitan areas that generate a lot more revenue. If you don't want to do it, you don't want to make the investment, you need to let us know so we can find somebody that does. Because the only thing that's going to happen if we keep getting excuses is a lawsuit. And we are, again, going to call Kentucky's Attorney General and bring this to their attention. Yes, sir, you have something?
Yeah, I have a question. You said a while ago that you had sent up 105 months,
Yes, give or take.
and that they were all involved.
No,
Those were ones sent to me.
that was just through the
I will
office.
clarify that. Those were ones that were sent to me, either via email or by phone, that were sent to her.
Those are ones we track
Correctly.
from start to finish. Yeah.
We went without service already. Well, all kind of that. If we're without service for 24 hours, we'll treat it up in. When my wife passed away, we got that. Now, that's a real way to do a country. But the lady insisted that they send a service technician to my house. I told her plain, you need to send nobody to my house. The problem is not with us. Or she very well. The boy stood in my kitchen, a contractor. Said, well, they got a bad main line. That's the trouble with it. Bill company sent me a bill for $60. And when I refused to pay it, I got charged late for being contractor. The other thing is throttling service. I don't know if you're throttling or what the problem is. I've got a speed test app on my phone. Okay, speed test app, if you're on the Wi-Fi, you hit the speed, it gives you the in and out. I'm paying for the maximum amount of bandwidth that I can get at my home and college. Okay, good. And I do a speed test at any one time. I'm supposed to be getting well over 100 megabytes per second. I'm getting like 40, and that's routine. That's not just every day. I mean, that's just not a fix.
Sam?
I pay for 50. Okay. I check my speed through Suddenlink.
Yeah.
4.6. 4.6. My wife and I, we're older. We don't play games. We don't stream movies. We just get on the internet. We can't do it at one time in my home. It's impossible.
They raised mine $10 this month.
That's a common, I've had other people, Sam, call me that their bills went up $10 and they don't know why.
Not being interrupt you, but every time I call, I'm on the phone 30 minutes to an hour. I talk to somebody in the Philippines, which I cannot understand. I'm not disrespectful to any other nationality, but if I can't understand what they're saying, what do I do? And she plainly told me, she said, if a technician comes out there, if you've got any animals, which I don't know, and if they don't come out, if they come out and I'm not home, they charge me $60. But the 2 days prior to that, I was supposed to have a technician, and they said, we didn't have enough record. I said, well, I talked to some guy, and I said, so maybe I should charge you $60. No outages. They said, no outages, no anything. And, what do you do, man? I mean, it's just, I don't want anything more or anything less than what we agree. That's it. Plain and simple.
Judge, tell them what yours is.
I live here in town, and I do speed tests too, Roger, like everybody else does, I guess. And I assume it's reasonably accurate. The speed test list, the FCC benchmark is 25 and 3, 25 down, I guess, and 3 up. And on this particular night, I was 2.09 down and 1.31 up.
That's routine.
Yeah, so it's concerning, to say the least.
Throttling the service is illegal in federal law.
Yeah, it feels like it is throttle, but I don't know. I mean, I would be totally out of line to say that.
I don't know if that's the case, it may just be problems with equipment, but if that is going on, that is a serious problem.
Aaron,
That's why I think that we need that, Roger, I think the fiscal court will probably get Ms. Lane to file a formal complaint with the FCC. It's one thing if an individual files it, but when a county government entity files it, then, I mean, Ms. Jones, I really don't think you understand the can of worms that your company's opening up here. But I can assure you, if you knew me, when I tell you something, I promise you that I will carry it through. A lot of these people are my friends. This is absolutely appalling what your company's doing. And what my deputy judge tells me, okay? So at that meeting on the 11th, you see this page right here? You know what this is? That's your company's profiles.
Yes.
I want one of these three people right here at that meeting. I'm sorry, I want one of these three people there. There's 50, I'm not sure how many thousand customers you have. I want one of these three people there. It's not open for discussion. If they're not here, because the meeting that we had with you a couple months ago accomplishes nothing. Rusty Davis, the city attorney, I read his comments. I've already had a conversation with him about what we can do. You know, these people shouldn't have to be forced to go out here and hire a lawyer to hold your company accountable. You know, some of these folks may have signed arbitration agreements. We're going to look at those to see if we can get out of them. Some of these people may not have signed an arbitration agreement with your company. The fiscal court doesn't have an arbitration agreement with you. And I can assure you that the FCC and the Kentucky Attorney General's office, they're not bound by arbitration agreements. So, I mean, if they're doing what Roger and some of these other folks think you're doing, those people might want to come down here at this meeting on the 11th, because the next time, you know, I've already contacted, so you'll know, we've contacted the Commonwealth Attorney's Office about this. And I'm going to continue to pursue that angle. Because if you're charging people for services that you're not providing, and you're doing some of this other stuff that we think may be going on, that we're going to investigate, different animal.
And I can tell you there's no throttling at all happening across the system.
Well, you can't tell us that because you don't know the answer to that.
I know the company does not throttle
You
internet
don't know
service.
that.
I don't think they would be doing it here, let alone anywhere
What's your
else.
title? What's your title?
I'm the Director of Government Affairs
Or the whole company?
for 5 states here, but there's
I spent
3
18
of us.
years in the legislature. You know what? Just so these folks will know, somebody that's in government affairs, you're a lobbyist. Pretty much, you're a lobbyist. You know, I had a rule when I was in the Senate. Long time I wouldn't let lobbyists in my office, okay? Because I really don't hold lobbyists in high regard. That's nothing against you personal. But the simple fact of the matter is, you're not in the technical side. You're down here telling us what we want to hear. We want to hear people that can fix these problems. You don't have that authority. Those people there do, and we want them down here. Okay?
We have fixed a lot of issues, I feel, though. I don't think we've done nothing.
You don't have the authority to fix those issues. You're down here. You're basically their lobbyist, and we want somebody with some technical ability, with some management authority that can make this stuff happen. Or, you know, something's going to have to give. And again, I'm not trying to be. You have a job. You have a family. I understand you're doing your job, but I have a job to do too. And my job is to make sure that they get what they're paying for. And your company's not upholding that.
I've been lobbying work, I've been a lobbyist, okay?
I wouldn't let you in the office either, would I, Roger?
Conflict can be made. I just said such a good rule. I'm proud that you did that, because that's good. I'm gonna tell you one thing for lobbyists. As somebody that lobby, don't make the statements you just made about you know for a fact that they're not throttling service, because you
I value my honesty
Is Roy
too.
Harlow still here?
Yeah.
I see you back there. I'm going to give you, for instance, Roy Harlow, who is here representing Intermountain Cable. During all this, out of all the phone calls that I've had and all the emails that I've had, I've only had 2 complaints on Intermountain Cable, and they have both been due. They're in the middle of a $2 million upgrade, and they were just quite simply lost by contractors. Put back in service immediately since the phone call was made. You've got a problem.
Well, I think that we have at least had some dialogue about where we all stand on this, and we look forward to seeing you on March 11th. And again, if the only person coming to the meeting is you, there's no point having a meeting. I want somebody from your company that has the authority to address these issues at the meeting. If not, we just won't have a meeting, okay? And we'll take it from there. Yes, sir.
Where we live at, father-in-law, the cable was run up in the early 70s and had to be replaced. There is trees laid on these lines. And that's why we have multiple issues with intermittent allergies and slow speeds. And the biggest complaint we have is with the customer service. I had a
And where do you live?
Ash County.
So you're at Ash Camp. So we got people from Pikeville. Billy's here just outside of town. Sam,
You're up toward, Sam, where you,
Sam's at Collins Highway.
up towards Shelby Ann?
Bar, where at?
Millard area up to Elkhorn City, Judge.
Lint Creek, Shelby Valley. I can't hear. We got people talking.
I stopped and asked him what he was doing. They
Crazy.
were on the cable, trying to get internet service up Elkhorn Creek. They said, we have no idea where to start. 3 technicians that's working for the company have no idea where to start. Where do we start? They need the cable up Elkhorn Creek one
I
time.
mean, the cable's 50 years old. Now, you can't tell me it hasn't deteriorated in 50 years. It needs to be.
I can promise you that the rain and the flying squirrels, well, you've probably heard this too. The rain,
My mother
I mean,
says-
just those 2 items right there. The squirrels eat through the sheath of the cable, and you get all kinds of trouble.
Yeah.
6 miles below my house, there is 4 trees laying on the line. And I don't mean little limbs, I'm talking big, full-grown trees.
Well, I know the power company, now, to the power company's credit, they do line maintenance pretty routinely to keep,
Well, that's the thing,
Exactly.
they're laying on the
I don't know that cable providers are required to do line maintenance.
You know, here's the simple fact of the matter. You know, this thing has gone through different hands over the years, but when you all bought it, Ms. Jones, it's your responsibility. And
Regardless with that, they raised the rate $10 a month, still no trucks, nothing, no matter.
Well, you can't, when you call customer service, I had an issue with my bill, it took me a full month. It took me 4 phone calls and 3 trips down here to the local office to get my bill straightened out. Now, that's ridiculous. It should have taken but 1 phone call.
For the last 2 months, which I can't sit up there.
let me clarify this. We get the press here. The fiscal court did not set this meeting. This is not a meeting of the fiscal court.
It was a meeting organized by me.
It was organized by Roger, but it's a public meeting and elected officials have a right to attend. We can't convene as a court because if you get 3 of us up here, it constitutes a meeting of the fiscal court and that would violate the open meetings law. So it's a public meeting. I think we're clear to do that because it's a public issues meeting. But we just want to make sure everybody understands this is not a meeting of the fiscal court. But we're here to listen to the issues. And I just want y'all to know that we're going to do everything we can. We're paying this attorney. It's costing the county a lot of money that we don't have. And it's something we shouldn't have had to do. We should not have to spend taxpayer money to make them do what they should do. It's that simple. Sam?
I had 5 to 7 calls in the last, every week, the last 2 months. I reported most of them events.
I'm still getting them. I mean,
And then I got some this week. It's just, it ain't no different than this here issue, this county, it's just important to us as a road issue, and we will work to fix the problems with what we can do. I agree with that.
For the economic health of the county as a whole, the city of Pikeville, Elkhorn City, they're all served by this. For the economic health of our recovery, if we can recover, it's going to be dependent as much upon this as it is a road.
well,
I mean, it simply is.
one thing I would recommend everybody do is sign in, let Vince get everybody's name and address so we can keep up with that, because we may need to be getting back in touch with you on this. But,
Well, Judge, I'm going to say that I'm going to start won't say a petition, but a list, right? Anybody that would like to add their name to that to express their dissatisfaction.
I would also encourage each of you to request, if you don't have it, a copy of your subscriber agreement that was entered into when you first got your service, because that will govern a lot of the terms. If this thing has to move into litigation, we need to see those agreements.
We'll put that word out.
Yeah, and I would recommend no one else sign a subscriber agreement until these issues are addressed, particularly a subscriber.
If they send you a new agreement, don't sign it.
If they send you a subscriber agreement that has an arbitration and a waiver of class action, don't sign that, because you're contracting away your right to hold them accountable in a court of law. So, all right, Sam, you.
I've got another issue besides, I've got the same problem like that with the internet. It's slow, sometimes have nothing. But, my concern, another concern I have is, I live in Brandon Heights. We've got an internet and cable system down here in Carroll. They come down, there's a TV cable system up in the middle of Charleston. I want to get on it.
Well, what really needs to happen, if Altus doesn't want to do this, they need to try to sell it to Intermountain Cable or some other company that would provide the service. If you're in that service area, they've got the franchise agreement as of right now. So, folks, I've got. We're going to deal with that we're going to talk. That's one of the issues we're going to talk about.
Subcontracted service, well, they've got Suddenlink trucks around here. They've got, I think the area they got submitted, they have all technicians, they subcontracted out the back a couple months ago. I think I was in your office playing at the time. We had a storm and power line, tree went down next to my house, put the power line, heat line, everything down. Power people were up to that evening, got the tree down, put the power back up. It was exactly 1 week to the day before we got TV back on, and just because, lines and clothes in a box down.
They just, I really just don't think it's important to them, because
Well, they sent out, they told, I go out there 7 days or 5 days and go down here to install it. But they're very nice down here, but they're angry about it.
that's why we want somebody, we want.
Having a serviceman out by the next day, well, guy comes out there, and it's one of these subcontractors. He comes out in a pickup truck, and I said, "You want me to come in your house and check my," no, that's my house. The problem out here is on this box, you know, because it happens every time there's a storm. I said, "Well, while you're here, why don't you go around the back of my house and check the meter and just see if we have any signal at all get to the house?" Because I don't think there's any signal
Did they charge you for that visit? Have any of you all been charged for service visits to your house?
And before we stood in the house, he said, well, it's a bad line, going down Oakland Street, they cut my people. Turn them off out the road.
We need to make sure we get that information. If you've been charged for a service call, would you please just get that information, just note on there, just write charged for service call. Make sure it's legible. Folks, I've got to go. It's been a long day, but I don't know if Commissioner Booth has anything he'd like to add.
The only thing I can say is, I've got Suddenlink also, and I have a lot of issues up our way with it kicking off, slow.
I use QuickBooks Self-Employed to maximize.
Something done to correct all these problems for everybody in the county.
All right, Jason, you have anything, Commissioner Tackett?
We're circulating this,
All right, we'll see you all. Thank you.